It's time for your daily LSU baseball update with Musso at the box. Now, Matt Musso.
And welcome into another edition of Musso at the box. Missed all of you. Welcome back. Let's see if we still remember how to do this. We better, because Jay Johnson certainly still remembers how to dominate the transfer portal. Massive get at the biggest position of need remaining for LSU. On Tuesday, out of the transfer portal, they land infielder Daniel Dickinson out of Utah Valley. We will talk everything Daniel Dickinson today, why you should be excited about him, where he fits for LSU, the infield situation now at LSU. We'll go through all of that, and then we'll use today also as our MLB Draft preview. We'll talk current Tigers who are leaving, most of them you know, but a couple decisions to be made, and then your signing class, guys that are at risk. The MLB Draft starts on Sunday. It will run through Tuesday, so we'll take this opportunity while we're here to go ahead and give you a preview of that and obviously names to watch as LSU goes through really the next milestone in the major league, I should say in the college baseball offseason, the Major League Baseball draft. So smash the like button if you have not already. Get subscribed up to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Subscribe up on your favorite podcast app. Follow me on the social medias. And let's get right down to it. LSU, when you look at their performance in the transfer portal so far in 2024, it has been really good. It's not a lot of names that maybe you know, but when you look at the player and how they project and the way that scouts and everyone talks about them and where they're ranked in these services that rank prospects, where LSU's transfer class is ranked, you understand that even though they're not the biggest names, they're still big in talent. And Daniel Dickinson is that guy. And up until Daniel Dickinson, you had seen it at just about every position: shortstop, outfield, pitcher, first base, DH. You didn't have that third baseman, shortstop, second baseman, and now you do. And it was the biggest position of need for LSU remaining in the transfer portal, and it was one of the biggest going in to this portal cycle. We've gone through it over and over and over again, right? You could only return Steven Milam. Then Ryan Kucharak hits the portal, and it just makes it even more into the spotlight, that position of infield. And you could only return Steven Milam. Michael Braswell obviously has a decision to make in the draft. We can talk about him a little bit later on in the show. But if he weren't to return and Jared Jones was to go pro, you'd have Milam. And you added a few guys here and there, Luis Hernandez, Eddie Yaman, but both of them really projected first base. What else are you going to do? And we'll get into it a little bit more when we look at the infield numbers as a whole after I go through Dickinson here momentarily. But numbers was never the problem for me when looking at LSU's infield. Yes, I know you only return Milam, but you got the recruiting class coming in. You got really good players there, and you're going to get some of them to campus. You have your junior college options. Numbers-wise, you would have had enough guys to field a team, to field an infield. The problem that you potentially weren't going to have is bona fide, no doubt, starting guy. And that's the first thing that Daniel Dickinson gives you. Daniel Dickinson will come into LSU, and he will be a starting infielder for this team on opening day. I know that's ridiculous to maybe say here as we sit in the summer, but I will say it again. I will be floored if Daniel Dickinson is not a starting infielder for LSU opening day in 2025. So who is Daniel Dickinson? Well, he's got 2 years of eligibility remaining, played his first 2 seasons at Utah Valley for former LSU hitting coach Eddie Smith, who actually is now Washington head coach. Eddie Smith took that job earlier on Tuesday as well. Dickinson, 6 foot, 180, plenty of measurables that you want there. In his 2 seasons at Utah Valley, this is what the guy did. He rewrote the record books over and over and over again. As a freshman at Utah Valley, Daniel Dickinson set records, freshman records, in hits, runs scored, doubles, and total bases. And oh, by the way, hit 370. As a sophomore, So this past season, Daniel Dickinson tied the Utah Valley single-season record for homers with 18, set the single-season record in stolen bases with 32, and oh, by the way, that's what I said, 32 stolen bases. And oh, by the way, set the career record in stolen bases with 42. That is 7 records that this kid set in his first 2 years at Utah Valley. That is massive. Overall in his career, 369 average, 27 homers, 95 RBI. It was a good 2 years in Orem, Utah for Daniel Dickinson, and now he looks for an even better an even better year at LSU in his draft season. Joe Doyle, who we reference on this show plenty. I've told y'all numerous times to go follow Joe Doyle's Twitter account. He does a great job scouting and whatnot. He's the guy who, and he's especially great to follow around the draft. He's very well connected. At Joe Doyle MILB, if you want to follow him. He's the guy who broke this news Wednesday morning on Dickinson, and said that he had a first-round grade on him in 2025 and compared him to Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman. Now, I'm not telling you that Daniel Dickinson's the next Alex Bregman. I mean, Alex Bregman's been a perennial all-star in Major League Baseball. He's in a contract year now. It's not going the best for him, but he's fixing to get paid again. Had a great 3-year career at LSU. I'm not saying that guy's going to be that, but he has been comped to Bregman. I think the power tool is a little bit better at the college level than it was for Alex Bregman. Obviously. Now, that's developed in Bregman's game later on. But here's one place you can see it. Alex Bregman didn't strike out. Daniel Dickinson, who has had an eventful summer, he first played with Team USA, and now he's on the Cape. 41 plate appearances on the Cape. He has struck out one time. One time. That's against arguably the best pitching you're going to see in collegiate summer baseball up there in Cape Cod. 1 strikeout in 41 plate appearances. So if you're asking yourself, can it translate? Yeah. You're seeing him do it with Team USA and then on the Cape, where the elite of elite pitching goes in the collegiate summer league. So yes, I think absolutely with this guy it can translate. Where does he fit in on the infield? And then I have a thought on him in the lineup as well. Where does he fit in on the infield? The other huge thing that stands out about him is athleticism. We gave you his measurables, 6 foot, 180. He can play anywhere on the infield. He played all 3 infield positions. Well, I should say forward first, but second, short, and third base at Utah Valley. Primarily second there. Probably profiles maybe a little bit more at third at LSU. We'll see. But can play shortstop. But if you're looking to replace Tommy White and you know you need a really good glove and you need a power bat, this is a guy that can absolutely be him. And you have other options that we'll get into as well. But the athleticism really stands out with Dickinson, and he can play second, short, or third. So that versatility is also going to lend himself to being in the lineup very early and very often at LSU. The last thing I will say about Dickinson, and we'll move on to how the infield fits around him, and then we'll get to our draft preview. I'm fired up about this pickup. This feels like that big bat that you got the first 2 years in the portal under Jay Johnson, and we've talked about that. Jacob Berry. Then the next year it was Tommy White. Daniel Dickinson feels like he can be that guy. I think Daniel Dickinson is exactly what Jay Johnson is looking for in a leadoff hitter. The only thing that could put it over the top even more is if he swung from the left side. He's a right-handed bat. But we have had this conversation over and over and over again on this show year after year. But a lot in 2024 what Jay Johnson wants in a leadoff hitter. The days of your prototypical leadoff guy who, can get on base, is speedy, and all that, that's gone. Y'all, Dylan Cruz led off for the majority of time at LSU. Tommy White was leading off at the end of the 2024 season. What Jay Johnson wants is a guy who turns in a quality at bat, 1 strikeout and 41 plate appearances in the summer. That's quality. So check. Oh, by the way, overall in the 2024 season, Dickinson had 245 ABs. He struck out 28 times. So check that box of a quality at bat in the leadoff spot. Jay wants a guy that can change the scoreboard with 1 swing. Lead off the game with a homer. This guy hit 18 of them last year and has hit 27 in 2 years. Check that box. Jay wants a guy that can not only get on base, but can get into scoring position. This is a guy who set the freshman record in doubles at Utah Valley. And has, let's see, I want to add it up for you and get it. I'm doing this on the fly, so pardon me on that. Has 33 doubles in his career. Check that box. And oh, by the way, if he doesn't hit a double, he has 42 stolen bases. He is exactly what you want if you're Jay Johnson out of the leadoff spot, sans the fact that he doesn't swing a left-handed bat. And I think he should get every opportunity to be that guy for you in 2025 and hit at the top of this order. Because he's the prototype. Like, he's what you want. This is a projected first-round pick that you just nabbed out of the transfer portal. And again, somebody asked me earlier today on Twitter, will it translate? And we've talked about that with every guy out of the portal. And yes, there's always the risk of that from any level coming into the SEC, even the ACC. There's that risk. But I will tell you this, more often than not, and I get it, it's easy to be skittish right now after 24 because you finally saw them miss in the portal. You finally saw it not translate. Mac Bingham did not translate. Justin Lore did not translate. No knock on those guys. They played hard. They fought for the team. They put in the work. All that, it just didn't work. But they got Paul Gervais from a junior college. He led your team in ERA in 2022. They got Eric Raiselman from Sacramento State. He's in Double-A baseball right now. Was awesome for you in 22 and is knocking on the door of Major League Ball. That translated. Paul Skeens is an incredible generational talent that we may never see again, but they got Paul Skeens from the Air Force Academy. That translated. You've seen them go with smaller school guys, and it worked. So, yeah. I look at a guy like Devin Sheeran who throws 98, and I say, yeah, that could work. A guy like Daniel Dickinson who's hit 370 for his career at Utah Valley, I said, yeah, that can work. Who's having a whale of a year in Team USA and up on the Cape. Yeah, that can work. And we can keep going down the list. But, I mean, that's 3 examples I gave you from the past. And yeah, again, one of them's a generational talent, the likes we've never seen and may never see again at LSU. But you didn't know that when you had him. Everyone asked the same question. Could it translate? Boy, did it. And then some. So yes, it can. But there's always risk. But don't take my word for it. Listen to scouts. I'm not a scout I ever claimed to be. But there's one right there in Joe Doyle telling you have a first-round grade on this guy for next year, and he's comping him to Alex Bregman. let's see. He's going to get plenty of opportunity. I'm fired up to watch this kid in purple and gold. I think he's going to be awesome, and I think LSU just got a huge boost to 2025. Who plays around him on the infield? How does that come up? I said earlier I was always fine with the numbers, right? The numbers were going to be fine. You needed the experience. He gave you that. So, numbers. You have Milam back for sure. Michael Braswell could return. He could go to the draft. For this hypothetical, let's say Michael Braswell goes to the draft. All right. Do you want to play Dickinson at third or second? Make your choice. If you want to play him at second, Stephen Milam is more than capable of playing short. We saw him do it in 2024 in a few different games. The arm strength is great. The range is really good. He can do that if you want him to. So you could have a middle infield of Milam Dickinson. You could have it Dickinson Milam. Pick. You also have the wild card, in my opinion, in all of this is Tanner Reeves. Junior college transfer who's set to come in. He should get through the draft, but yes, he is eligible, but he should get through the draft and come to LSU. And if he does, he has a lot of the same qualities that Dickinson has. He's extremely versatile. Jay Johnson said he could play every position on the field because of his athleticism except for pitcher and catcher. So that's a guy you could put at short, second, hell, first, third, pick. But he's a guy who's hit about 370 in his career. He's had a season of single-digit homers and a season of 20 homers, so there is pop in the bat. He's the wild card. I'd be very surprised if he's not out there on opening day at some point for LSU. He's going to get every opportunity to play. So right there, you could be looking at a combination of Dickinson, Milam, Reeves, and then you have Eddie Yaman, Luis Hernandez, Ethan Fry could potentially play some first base. Like, you have options over there as well. Maybe Jared Jones comes back. Unlikely, but until pen meets paper, sure. But it's unlikely, and I wouldn't expect that. So why he was the last name we mentioned. But just right there, that's numbers. You also have Trevor Schmidt out of your junior college class who can play first base. Then you get into the recruiting class. And we're going to go through the depth of this class in the next segment when we talk draft. But you have 5 infielders in this class. You have Ryan Costello, who's a first baseman who should get to campus. Cale Fountain is a third baseman who could very well hear his name called in the draft. You might have to sweat that one out, but if you get him, he's a guy who's absolutely going to compete day one for opportunity. He's the career home run leader for the state of Nebraska. And oh, by the way, set that as a junior, not even in his senior year. Set that in his junior year. It is massive raw power, huge kid, 6'5", 229, plays third base. That would be an option. You get him here. Then you have 3 shortstops, Kason Evans, David Hogue, and Michael Ryan, who's out of New Orleans. You aren't losing all 5 of those guys. You probably have a really good chance to get at least 3 of them here, and if you get more, that's just going to bolster your numbers. And Fountain and Michael Ryan and guys like that are threats to come in and play immediately. So numbers-wise, you're going to be fine. And now you've got the day one starter veteran in Dickinson. You should feel a lot better about LSU's infield. It wouldn't surprise me if they went and added one more guy just for some depth, especially if things don't go their way in the draft with a couple of guys. You could see that. But numbers-wise, you're fine. And now you've got what looks like a real dude in Daniel Dickinson. So, huge boost to LSU's roster in 2025. That's weird to say. In 2025, huge boost to the infield as well, a position of need that they so greatly needed to address. All right. Let's pivot, and let's do our draft preview here really quickly. Let's start with the current LSU Tigers, because this is an easier part of this to go through. Kylie McDaniel on Tuesday released his final top 250 players. So this is it. This is his final ranking going into the draft. 6 current LSU Tigers made that list. Tommy White at number 29. Tommy White is not coming back. Everybody knows that. This will be the last we talk about Tommy White in this preview. Luke Holman at number 45. Luke Holman is not coming back. Everybody knows that. This will be the last that we talk about Luke Holman in this preview. Gage Jump at number 48. Gage Jump is not coming back. Everybody knows that, and this will be the last time we talk about Gage Jump in this preview. Griffin Haring at number 118, and we will come back to that. Thatcher Hurd at number 142. Thatcher Hurd is expected to sign. Everyone thought that. Yes, he entered the portal. I don't care. He's probably going to go pro. He was never coming back. This will be the last time we talk about Thatcher Hurd in this preview. Jared Jones at number 230, and we will come back to Jared Jones. Other interesting draft-eligible prospects that were not ranked in the top 250, Michael Braswell, Josh Pearson. Let's start with Griffin Haring. This ranking is twofold for me because the conversation we've had about Griffin Haring is he could really benefit from another year draft stock-wise if he comes back and is a starting pitcher and has a great season. Griffin Haring got pinholed this year as a fastball slider guy because that's really all he needed out of the bullpen. In Griffin Haring's freshman year, when Wes Johnson was the pitching coach, you saw Griffin Haring use all 4 pitches. He's got a multiple mix. He definitely profiles as a starter. It's something we talked about when he committed and signed at LSU. It's something we talked about throughout when Jay Johnson himself mentioned that early in Haring's career that he profiles as a starting pitcher because of that mix. The fastball and the slider are his best 2 pitches, and that's what you're going to use out of the bullpen. But he's got more, and he can develop even more off of that. There is a path for him to come back, be in the weekend rotation from week 1, especially maybe while you're still waiting on Chase Shores to figure it out. It's going to take him time to come back from that injury. Like, he's not going to step out there on opening day and just be all-world Chase Shores that you saw as a freshman. It's going to take, he's going to have pitched in over a year. It's going to take him time to get reacclimated. You saw it with Thatcher Hurd. You saw it with Gage Jump. You're going to see it with Chase Shores. So prepare yourself for that now. Griffin Haring has a chance to be that guy immediately. And if he does that and has success, yes, his draft stock will shoot up. This ranking shows you that. The other thing this ranking shows you is that teams and scouts already think highly of him just as a reliever and know he profiles as a starting pitcher. And I bring that up because teams could say, hey, we'll pay you slightly more than we would pay a reliever and get you ready to start now. We know you can be a starter. We believe in you as a starter. We're not going to draft you as a starter, but we'll pay you more than a reliever. Will you take that and come and develop into a starting pitcher in our franchise? And that's ultimately the decision that Griffin Haring has to make. Where does he want to develop into a starting pitcher? At LSU or in minor league baseball? I don't have the answer for you on that. I'm not that guy. I'm not Griffin Haring. I can't answer that. Only he can. So you will sweat that out. You will absolutely. Selfishly, I want to see Griffin Haring back in the purple and gold for one more year. Selfishly, Jay Johnson and those guys, they want to see Griffin Haring back in the purple and gold for another year. But it's a decision that only he can make. Jared Jones at number 230. I think Jared Jones is gone. I think we've been over this time and time again. Jared Jones is a right-handed hitting first baseman. Those guys get, I don't want to say blackballed, but, I mean, they are what they are in Major League Baseball. They're a dime a dozen. Okay? I mean, Jared Jones is not catching. He's not going to play third. He's a right-handed hitter first baseman. And Jared Jones has done everything you need to do in college baseball. He cannot increase his draft stock. He can't. Jared Jones has hit 300 for his career in 2 years at LSU. You have obviously seen the power, and he's fielded 993 over at first base in 2 years. If Jared Jones comes back, has the exact same season for a third time, he's going to be right there again. Now, yes, he has plenty of leverage being a draft-eligible sophomore, as does Griffin Haring. But when I look at those two guys and I go, okay, who has the most to gain from coming back? It would be Griffin Haring, not Jared Jones. And for that reason, I expect Jared Jones to sign. I think he'll get a really good number in the draft, probably $1 million, maybe just short of $1 million, and he will sign and start his pro career. And I think that's the correct move for him. Selfishly, would I love him to come back? Sure. Would they love to see him come back over there in that building? Absolutely. But I think Jared Jones kind of is who he is at this point, and who that is a damn good baseball player and a damn good complete baseball player, and I just don't really know if there's much more he can do in a third year at LSU. In fact, I don't think that there is. Michael Braswell. I think Michael Braswell helped his draft stock plenty this year, showing the ability to hit top pitching in the league. When he came in, everybody thought Michael Braswell had a slow bat, and at times it looked like that a little bit, but Michael Braswell hit top pitching this season in the SEC. He was LSU's second leading hitter in conference. He's not a power guy. You know, he's the contact guy, although you did see some power late in the season from Braswell. You saw a few hiccups at short, but if he can't stick it short, they'll find an infield spot for him, likely second base at the next level. I think what they really wanted to see was the hit tool, and you saw that improve. You saw it improve enough to where Michael Braswell will absolutely hear his name called in the Major League Baseball draft. Where will he hear it called? My guess is day 3. And you might say, well, man, how did he improve his stock? Because before that, I don't think Michael Braswell was getting drafted. Like, before he came to LSU and really showed you the hit tool, I don't think he was getting. He goes back to South Carolina for a third year, hits 250 again. Man, if he does hear his name called, it's late on day 3. I think you could see him maybe middle of day 3 in the teens rounds. And if a team has enough bonus pool money left, they could pay him over slot if they wanted to do that. The decision that Michael Braswell has to make is, does he want to give up his leverage? Michael Braswell could get drafted in the teen rounds, get offered 150, 200K, and it'd be a really wise, or maybe even more than that, 300, 400. Like, it happens. Javen Coleman got offered 500K in the 15th round in 2023. So if he gets a good six-figure number like 200, 300, 200, 250, 300K, is it worth giving up your leverage to come back and then they can take you wherever they want? Yeah, sure, they could take you in the 5th, 6th round, but they're going to sign you under slot. Probably well under slot. Like, Gavin Dugas got drafted, I believe it was in the 6th round last year. He got 5 figures. Well under slot at that spot. That's the question that Michael Braswell has to ask of himself and answer. None of us can make that decision for him. I can tell you, honestly, if I were Michael Braswell, I would probably take the money. If it were me. If it were me. It's not me. We'll see the decision he has to make. If he decides to come back, he's got a starting spot waiting for him at LSU. We all know that. Josh Pearson's the other guy that I would mention here from a draft-eligible standpoint, from a position player, and then I have a couple pitchers that we got to touch on real fast. I think Pearson's back at LSU in 2025. I'd be pretty surprised. I mean, he's a great program guy, has an incredible legacy already at LSU, but he has a chance to play with his brother as well, John, who's going to come in as a freshman. That's awesome. We've seen great brothers play together at LSU. You think of the Harrises, of course, you think of the Nolas. Like, there's been plenty of the Jordan twins. Like, there's been plenty of them. The Pearsons could be next, and I think that does matter to them. And Josh would be a great asset to this team, obviously, again. And I just don't really believe he's that projectable of a player. I think he's a great college baseball player. So I would expect him to be back. Fidel Ulloa is the guy on the mound who we didn't mention in there, who is absolutely a draft risk, and I imagine would probably sign right now. The fastball's up to 96. When he was on this past season, he was awesome. When he was on last season, he was awesome. We'll see what he decides. Righty could be a great back into the bullpen guy for a major league franchise, and I would probably expect him to sign. So I'll just kind of leave it at that. Maybe he comes back. We'll see. All right, your signees. Your signees in Kylie McDaniel's top 250 were plentiful. We have talked over and over again about the depth of this LSU class, and it is just so deep. To the point where Derek Curiel, the number 10 overall player in the country by Perfect Game, who has said he's coming to campus and has pulled his name out of the draft, we'll see how that goes. That guy is the 4th-ranked player in this class. 4th-ranked player in this class. Your signees, all 8 of them that were ranked in Kylie's top 250. Connor Griffin at number 7. Connor Griffin is not coming to LSU. This will be the last time we talk about him in the preview since the trend. Number 13, Cam Caminetti. Cam Caminetti is not coming to LSU. This will be the last time we talk about him in this preview. Number 33, William Schmidt. Yes, the Louisiana Ties are very interesting there, and if there were one out of that core 4 who have been mocked that might spurn it because of that, it would be William Schmidt, but I'm not expecting that, so this is going to be the last time that we talk about William Schmidt in this preview. Number 62, Boston Bateman, giant left-handed pitcher, probably not coming to campus, put that at a low risk as well. This will be the last time we talk about Boston Bateman in this preview, unless he shocks everybody and doesn't get his number and does show up. Okay. Number 170, catcher Cade Arrembeedi. Arrembeedi was at one point a first-round draft pick. Many people expected him to be that. He's since slipped, but the talent and the tools are there. Because he slipped and has a high number, plenty of people kind of think he might be leaning coming towards LSU. Might be leaning. I see him rated at number 170, and that tells you that is far from a certainty. Teams can move money, all those types of things. The other thing I do when I look at him at 170, number 170, I say, go get a catcher in the portal. Like, please go get a catcher in the portal. You need another body there, and you don't need to wait until after the draft and just see what happens with Cade Arrembeedi. So that's a name to absolutely watch and potentially sweat out. Number 210, Maverick Rizzi, right-handed pitcher, 6'9", big arm. We haven't talked about him a lot, which again illustrates the depth of this recruiting class if you're LSU. Like a guy like Michael Rizzi, who's a top 250 prospect in this draft, 6'9", 225, fastball up to 94, easy delivery, pounds the strike zone. That's a guy we haven't really talked about. Again, and I meant to use Rizzi as this example. Top 250 prospect in the draft. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12th ranked player in LSU's class. It's absurd. So you'll sweat that guy out and see what happens. Number 213 was Michael Ryan, shortstop out of Rummel. Michael Ryan's going to be an interesting one, man. He's a guy who could absolutely show up and compete day one for starting time. By the way, he's the 11th ranked player in the class. Could easily come in and compete for starting time. That's a guy that, man, I could see spurning the draft. You talk about a program guy who's wanted to play for LSU his entire life. There's opportunity early if you do show up and is highly thought of in the draft. That's one that I'm most intrigued to watch because I think there's a chance LSU can get him here, which would be, I mean, it would just be huge. And then number 235 is Cale Fountain, who we mentioned earlier, big third baseman out of Nebraska, the Nebraska leader in career leader in home runs for the state. Set it as a junior, 6'5", 229, third base, definitely profiles there. Just awesome. And the thing is, the speed is pretty darn good too. A 6'6", 60, even with that frame that Cale Fountain has. So those are the guys to really watch from a recruiting class standpoint. They're ranked in the top 250. Now, you have to keep an eye on all of them, right? Because, I mean, you know, a guy like Maverick Rizzi is ranked in the top 250. A guy like David Hogue, Case and Evans, 2 shortstops aren't, but they're ranked ahead of him in LSU's class. So you're going to sweat just about all of them. And keep in mind, you hear their name called in the top 10 rounds, they've agreed to that number, they're gone. You get these guys through those top 10 rounds, and the chance increases for them to show up on campus. Those are the guys to really watch out of LSU's transfer class. Out of LSU's recruiting class. The transfer class, you have 3 draft-eligible guys: Chris Stanfield, Luke Hayden, Luis Hernandez. Keep an eye on those. Hayden and Stanfield are thought to be bigger draft risks than Hernandez, but none of those three ranked in Kylie McDaniel's top 250. That should be a good sign for LSU. And then your junior college class as well. Trevor Schmidt, Tanner Reeves, Blaze Priester. Blaze Priester, as I said, and Daniel Harden and Connor Ware. All five of those guys are draft eligible. Just keep an eye if you see those names in the draft. That's who you're watching. That's the decisions that I have to make. That's my opinion on some guys. Ads. Sorry if you heard that go over the air. We'll be back after the draft with a recap, and we'll have a much better feeling on where LSU's roster stands heading into 2025. So be ready and be here for that. Y'all smash the like button on the way out. Get subscribed up to the podcast. If you haven't already, get subscribed up on the YouTube channel, on your favorite podcast app. Follow me on social media, and be here next time for more on Musso at the Box.